It seems like your message is primarily positive masculine, whereas the positive feminine is not elaborated with near the same resolution. What do you think? I don't really think that's true. I think that might be somewhat true of 12 Rules for Life, although I'm not convinced of that. The message in 12 Rules for Life is to find a balance between order and chaos. And there's plenty of discussion in there about the danger of an excess of both. Certainly Maps of Meaning is elaborated out more with regards to the positive masculine, or with regards to Maps of Meaning is elaborated out more completely than 12 Rules with regards to the positive role of the masculine and the feminine. I think it's complicated in part because the feminine, classically speaking, is associated with smaller scale, intimate, familial groupings. And so in a world that's obsessed with adaptation to large-scale social systems, it's harder to make a case for the role of the feminine. We don't really understand the role of the feminine in large-scale social structures. So, and we don't have a cultural myth, apart from Beauty and the Beast, let's say, that describes the role of an independent female operating in the fundamentally masculine social world. And we don't even know what something like that would look like. And there aren't guiding stories to some degree because women haven't been able to do that except in the last 100 years. So I don't know what the positive feminine on a large scale would look like. And we don't have guiding stories for that. This is partly to underline the absolutely radical nature of the birth control pill. And not only that, but the provision of technological devices that aid women in dealing practically with their monthly menstrual cycle, which was also a huge impediment to women in terms of interacting in the, let's say, the patriarchal world. So now women can take their place in the broader cultural world. And we don't know what the model for that is. So, you might say, well, they should adopt the heroic masculine perspective, and certainly to some degree that's true, but that's not a particularly fruitful archetype when it comes to having a family. And having a family is actually extraordinarily important, and it's certainly the thing that dominates the thoughts of the majority of women as they approach their 30s. All cultural noise to the contrary. So it's something we're still puzzling out, and I suppose I'm still puzzling it out too. I mean, with my daughter, I tried to encourage her to be as sharp and as intelligent and critically minded and ambitious as she could be, but also let her know that if she was always interested in having kids, but to also let her know that having a family was an extremely important thing. How to balance that? Well, that is the modern conundrum, isn't it? We want to figure out how to maximize our access to the talents of women, but also to set up a situation where it's possible for talented women, and women of all talents, let's say, as well, but talented women who have options in the workplace to also have a family. And this is a tremendously complex problem, and it isn't clear how it's going to be solved. There is data showing, you say, well, men should pick up more of the feminine role, and I suppose that's possible. But there is good data showing, for example, that if you show women pictures of men engaged in classically masculine endeavors, fixing a roof or fixing the plumbing or so forth, or in feminine endeavors, doing the dishes and vacuuming, that the women rate the men who are doing the female tasks as less sexually attractive. And so it's not all on the men with regards to the utility of them picking up a more feminine role. And it isn't necessarily the case that women will find men who are more domestic also maximally sexually attractive. Those things don't necessarily go together. So this is very, very complicated. So